You've written 7 books, correct?
Yes, but some of them have been updates of previous books. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
How many have had a traditional publisher and how many have been self-published?
0 self-published.
Why is that?
Because I don't know, I want professionals, and self-publishing is a much bigger option. And publishers aren't perfect, but when you self-publish, that is a load. That is hard. You're competing against companies with endless resources many times. It's hard to get shelf space, promotion, all that, editing. In a way, it's very wonderful. It's democratizing. People can get their story out. On the other hand, it's contributed to the decline of bookstores. It's diluted the field because, can you imagine if, there's already too many lawyers, but now you can get your law degree after 1 year? What's that going to look like for people getting representation? So yeah, nothing against them. And I know people that have been with big publishers, that have been award-winning New York Times bestsellers, that said, they're getting older, they don't want to go through a publisher because it takes 2 years in the editing. I know enough good people, I'll just do it myself. I just don't want to do that. Yeah. So I, when I was a journalist, I would be so lucky. I must have the face that people want to tell their secrets to. Maybe they feel sorry for me, but people would tell me secrets, send me documents, whisper things in my ear. Sometimes I just got, it was unbelievable, and I did work hard, but a lot of that luck stopped when I transitioned to being an author. Maybe I didn't do all my homework. I thought I had a deal for the book about my uncle with a big time New York publisher. She got fired, and there went interest in the types of subjects in my book. That's happened repeatedly to me. I sometimes say, if you see me in your profession, you better look for a new job. My Smog book came out during the middle of the Great Recession. And though the book got really good reviews, nobody cared. And I don't blame them. They cared about if their 401 is going to exist. Are they going to be broke? Are we going into the next? Remember, people thought we'd go into a depression. It does create a little narrative in your head. It's thinking, oh my God, my next book comes out. Are missiles going to be flying? Is it going to be bird flu this time? What's the world got in store for me? So it's always, I must say, it create a bit of a little syndrome in your head. But, I love writing and I will never stop.
How realistic is it for most writers to land a traditional publishing deal?
I don't know. It is hard to write, to get published, traditionally the way it used to be. The book industry, Smogtown, my first real book, came out in 2008. It's really changed a lot, the industry. There's been consolidation among the big publishing houses. A whole generation of older, really talented editors that had really developed some of the best writers in the world. They're gone. They're replaced by younger people. Social media has had a giant influence on publishers, I believe, where, it's not enough to have a story. You have to have a big built-in audience. In some ways, if you look at it from an economic point of view, they're trying to have more assurance about return on investment. But, we're pitching a book now that we think would have been a natural sale immediately, 10 years ago. It's not as simple anymore. Identity matters a lot. It just does. There's been a lot of marginalized people that never got publishing deals when I was getting a publishing deal, So it's their time now, but we're still in an adjustment period. So I don't know. You just have to really be more battle hardened. And fortunately, the last years I've published with a great publisher that's grown and grown and grown, gotten bigger rare bird books. Had really good experience with them. They publish some big time people. One thing I don't like about big publishers, and not their fault, but it can take a long time to get a book out, and the world can change in that interval. So, that's what, people that self-publish can get something in the marketplace very quickly. How many people are going to find it is the question. You've heard the old theory of if a tree falls in the wood, does it make a sound? Of course it makes a sound. A sound is not contingent upon human sensory experience to know it's create a physical effect in the material world. But man, it is a lot more exciting if that tree falls when there's people looking at it than if just a squirrel's looking at it. And so it's, there's so many writers, there's so much competition. It's just a very full sea. So it's not that easy. And how do you get your book to rise above it? People will go on TikTok or whatever. I did think about renting an ostrich in a cage for this book. I don't know if you guys have read my Arroyo yet, but ostriches figure quite prominently, and people really like ostriches. Like cowbell, there needs to be more ostriches. That's what people have told me. And so that, you have to find your way of standing out. A lot of authors have very developed audiences. So almost anything they write, people are going to read. Even if their quality of their fiction or writing is going down, sometimes it's going up. But it's just more, the commerce is trickier these days. That's what I'm saying, And writers are not always great at business or marketing. Some people are more natural than others. You really, that's why, if you self-publish, you're not doing it with an agent. I have a great agent, and, he's my friend and mentor. So that's very helpful, because I'm the person I want to learn, and I want wisdom. I sure don't have much of it, but I want it.
Would you say your audience changes for each book that you put out?
As I was saying earlier, I have genre skipped so much. I had a PR person say, you're schizophrenic. Stay in one thing. Stay in one area. Schizophrenic, metaphorically, obviously not mental illness. And, I'm trying to heed that advice. But you can't build an audience if you're writing true crime or environmental or biography. You just hope an audience is going to form around it, but that's really delusional. So, I'm still struggling with that, to be honest with you. And so that's why I'm sticking with fiction mainly. And I have the next book, my brain is really annoying. It's already working on that premise of the third book in what will be a loosely affiliated trilogy. So, if I did it over again, I would not be skipping genres. I might be staying in one genre and then doing journalism for other interests, But some people make their their whole life is writing true crime. I could not do that, just because it's, I don't know, among other reasons. Your glorious book is built on some family's darkest, more horrific pain. And I learned that with The Darkest Glare when I was going around interviewing people that I had to bring out of hiding or were crying or needed an antidepressant, and that was my book I was chasing, and so I will never write another true crime book. It's just, I'm just too much of a wuss. Or too empathetic, in that way. So it's, that's why it's nice to jump around. But I'm staying in fiction in the end because I can, dictate my own terms. So hopefully there'll be an audience that wants to hear what I'm saying.
What should an author look for in a prospective publisher?
Are you a good fit? Are you a good fit? Are they going to treat your baby well? Are you going to be their type of author? Can you live with their editing and their vision and their artwork? Have you asked the right question? It is really an arranged marriage. Are you a good fit? I think that's the number one thing. I've learned that trying to develop things for Hollywood. My grandfather, who was a prolific Hollywood musician, made both my mom and her brother, the uncle I wrote about in my book, promised they would never go into Hollywood because he knew what the sharks were like there. And yet they went into Hollywood. And guess who's making that same mistake too? It's a whole nother world, and I find it just fascinating and bewildering and very frustrating. But I'm still, I still, want to make still want to do something there. I've been optioned, but you don't know the people you're going to be working with. Especially if you never meet them, it's all a Zoom relationship. you have no idea how they operate or how they treat their staff or whatever. And no wonder, no wonder things break up so much, because it's just a bad fit to begin with. But somebody has an idea and there's some money at hand and some executive, wants that type of show. But you don't really know until you're working with people, is this right for me? I would rather not have something of mine made if I feel like they're going to do it harm. They're going to need to make up and twist people's background. They're going to miss the theme of it, to sell, create some false ending, where there's, they think is satisfying, but is really a betrayal. I would never do that, And there is a lot of that. I don't agree with shows where they change people's backgrounds of real people. Just make up people based it on the real people. So, you have to really think about that. Would you rather die in obscurity with your integrity or die wealthy with, a guilty conscience? I would rather do the former.